What did you think of Baker the other night, considering he had, what, 2 or 3 practices with him and goes out and leaves a winning shot?
I mean, I don't even know if it was 3 practices. I mean, it was, I think those things, when those happen, they're, you know, we've all, as coaches, if you're in this thing long enough, you've subtly been a part of deals like that. But, you know, at the quarterback position, which is, you know, vital with any team, for him to be able to do what he did was really amazing. You know, because I've seen situations where guys have been signed and come in like, you know, on a Tuesday or Wednesday and played a Sunday game. You know, it was like when we signed Justin Hollins. You know, Justin Hollins got here on a Thursday afternoon and played on Sunday. But not to diminish anyone's jobs, but the quarterback position, you know, for him to do what he did was remarkable. It really was.
How do you put together the plan, maybe a little based on what you saw from him last year? I mean, he won some, but you guys did too.
Yeah.
You know, into a new system and a new personnel.
Yeah. No, I think, you know, you have to, I don't think that all of a sudden in week, 14 that the LA Rams are all of a sudden going to scrap their offense and put the Baker Mayfield offense in. You know, I think you guys saw the story. At least I know I saw it. It was out there that, you know, Sean has always been the one thing that Sean always liked about Baker is when we were all in LA, we were going to the combine, and you know, we sat back and coach. Sean sat in first class, and when he was going to the combine, Baker was training out in LA, and actually they sat next to each other on the plane. And I still remember Sean even after that. He was always very impressed with how smart and cerebral Baker was, which I think goes, you know, people have always said that who's ever worked with him. So my point is, I think that, you know, Baker's going to be able to come in, especially on a, you know, they got a little bit of extra time having played on Thursday night. You know, I think he's going to be able to, you know, pick up as much as the LA offense as he can. Of course, when you play with quarterbacks, new quarterbacks, there are certain things that certain quarterbacks like, and you're going to implement those things, but those are going to be things I think that are within the LA Rams offense. And, you know, this year they've had to play with Matthew, they've had to play with Wofford, they've had to play with Bryce, you know, so I mean, they've had to do that. But, you know, I don't think they're going to completely scrap what they've been doing. They're going to do some things that Baker might like that he's done in his past that's already implemented in their offense.
A couple of weeks ago, you were asked about Savage, and you called him, you thought he could be an unbelievable nickel. What do you think happened there? He's gone from starting at safety to starting at nickel for like a game or two to being the dime guy a week later.
Well, you know, he got hurt too.
Well,
you know, he got hurt in the third
I mean,
play.
he's kind of fallen out of playing time.
Yeah. I still totally believe in Darnell Savage. I think he's, you know, and we're built on competition. Everything that we do every single day, we're built on that. And I think the more people that you have that you can play and you can deploy, the better. You know, I don't think there's anything. He got hurt the third play of the Philly game and then was hurt our last game. So he's come back. He's healthy. I think that bye hit right at the right time. For him to heal up with the injury that he got against Philly. And he's, you know, had 3 really good days of practice the last couple of days.
Beyond the injury, though, he was a guy who was an every down player for you all last year and the first 2/3 of this year, to a guy who became your 6th defensive back at Philly. That's quite the fall, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, it was just that was the decision that we made going into the Philly game. You know, every week's a new week, and like I said, it's about competition, and I know he's going to play this week, and I expect great things. So
what caused him to fall down the rotation like that?
Well, we decided to go with Keyshawn at the nickel, and we decided to go with Ford at safety. So that's what we decided to do that week. You know, we'll see what happens this week.
After Rashawn, talk about the progress that Enikbari has made for you as a rookie. And then adding Hollins from LA. You'd had some experience with Justin in LA?
Sure, yeah. I think, and I know I've said that up here with you guys before, I think when you lose a guy like Rashawn Gary, you don't replace a guy like that. I think he is the type of player, and he's gotten to the level of player, not only with his play, but with his demeanor, I've used the word grit with him, what he brought to us, not only as a front, as a defense, as a team. You don't replace that. You really don't. And, when an injury like that happens, the guys underneath that player, they have to rise up. And it's not only JJ, for that matter, it's Preston. Preston's game has to go to a next level when you lose a guy like Rashawn Gary on the outside. Everyone has to up their game. And, it's even a guy like JJ who was, a young rookie that, hopefully you're going to be able to kind of bring along. Well, now there's no time to bring along. You got to go. You got to up your game. Same thing with Justin Hollins. You can't feel your way through picking things up, even though we just signed you. You got to go. You got to go out and play. And it's all those guys. It's Jonathan Garvin. That whole group. When you lose the presence of a Rashawn Gary, all those guys got to pick it up. Not only JJ as the young rookie, and he's done some really good things. Some other things he's got to improve on. But I think the best thing for him right now is that he's playing. He's getting a lot of time. So,
Joe, when you look at what's happened the first 13 games and what you've got in front of you in the last 4, you can't go back and change the past. I'm guessing you don't. You said you don't second guess, but I'm guessing you're not happy with a lot of, at least a portion of what's happened to this point.
Sure.
What can you guys do in the final 4 games to give this team the best chance to run the table and get the playoffs?
well, first of all, I think what you're saying is the obvious, but I don't think you can worry about the next 4 weeks. That's I think the best thing that Matt approaches everything with the staff, with the team. Obviously, this week's obviously no different. We're worrying about the LA Rams because that's our next game. Anything after that, we'll worry about that when we get to it. So, I think the bye came at the right time, allowed everyone to, kind of get away and from a player standpoint, get rested up. 13 straight weeks, that's a gauntlet, So I think that was really good for us. We came back. We had a bonus day on Tuesday that was really good. And then, we completed our Wednesday practice and our Thursday practice yesterday. And that's all our focus is right now. That's all where our mindset is right now, is just to go 1-0 this week and go beat the Rams.
All right, so then let's focus on this week, because I was talking in general terms. What do you guys defensively have to do better this week and moving forward to give yourselves the chance you need? Because it starts I get 1-0 every week, but you guys have to play better than you have this season to be where you want to be, don't you?
Absolutely, yeah. And the message is exactly the same, whether it was week 1 or whether it's week 14. You got to do your job. We got to tackle better. I think if you really look at every single game that we have played poorly in, it's the 5 to 6 to 7 explosion plays that we've given up, whether we've allowed the ball to be thrown over our head or we've missed a tackle in front of us and the guy's been able to run. But those are things that we do preach and we do talk about every single week. It's not just like, oh, all of a sudden we got to pay attention to that. But when we play good, we do those things. We have great eyes. We play one play at a time. We don't allow the ball to be run through us or thrown over our head. When we play well, we do those things. And that was definitely, obviously, the message this week, to be able to go 1-0 and beat the Rams and, keep this thing moving.
Joe, could you talk about 15, 2-2 Atwell? It looks like Sean's sort of been bringing him along from returner to now a weapon.
Sure. It was a kid that I remember they were, I think that was the year after I left. They were really excited about him. I think he was a second-round draft pick, and I think initially he was brought in there with the mindset that, you know, they wanted to use him as a weapon in the return game. And, you know, he's been there a handful of years now. He's learned the offense. You know, they've sustained some major injuries at the wide receiver position. So his offensive play has increased and his production has. And he's a dangerous guy. I mean, he can run. And he's a danger. They're finding different ways to get the ball in his hand, whether they're, you know, having him stress the you know, down the field shots or just, you know, give him the ball on fly sweeps, you know. So good player that you got to deal with.